Arsenal are leading the race to sign the Napoli striker Victor Osimhen, despite interest from Manchester United. The player himself has recently responded to links to the Premier League, confirming that this would be a dream move for him. We're going to delve into that story and much, much more. Also, look at the recent comments around Declan Rice to Arsenal and Manchester United being confident of landing Harry Kane. We're just going to take a look at what Jamie Carragher has had to say about Arsenal's recent form. And we're going to delve into a little bit more the fallout of Man United's humbling defeat amid the news of the takeover from the Qataris pushing forward. Smash the like and the share button. Let's go.
In one of the top five leagues in the world is amazing feeling for me and a good feat. But of course, a lot of people worldwide consider the Premier League as the best and the strongest league. But of course, I'm on the process. I'm in the phase. So now I'm in one of the best league in the world, which is the Italian Serie A. Of course, I'm working so hard to make sure that I achieve my dream in playing, of course, in the Premier League someday.
Big words there from Victor Osimhen. Some may say he probably shouldn't have even have said that. That's what some people would suggest. Dreams of playing in the Premier League. Recently linked with a big, big move to Arsenal. Manchester United are also interested as well. But what are the newspapers, what are the journalists telling us about this deal? Well, this here from the Arsenal Buzz via the Daily Mail is very much in response to his recent links to Arsenal, where he says, "I'm working so hard to make sure I achieve my dreams of playing in the Premier League someday. But like I said, it's a process, and I just want to keep this momentum and continue to do well at Napoli." It's also been reported today from Raj Sport that Arsenal are leading the race. This was shared by a huge Twitter account, followed by many, very credible to many, at Deadline Day Live, Transfer Nude Live. The Arsenal are leading the race despite interest from Manchester United. Before I get your reaction to this, obviously, I want your comments below. Please make sure you're subscribing and you're turning on the bell notifications. Get that done. But also scan that QR code on the screen. On Spotify now, the Top 6 podcast is now out. If you don't use Spotify, use a different podcast provider, Amazon or iTunes. There's also a link in our description to go and follow that. Make sure you're following the Top 6 podcast exclusively on Spotify right now by scanning the QR code. Get that done. But I wanted to ask Arsenal fans about this news. Man United fans, it's simple. You either like Victor Osimhen or you don't. United are in this race. United will try to sign him, in my opinion. He'll be someone that the club are talking to, thinking about, trying to convince to move to Manchester United, along with Harry Kane, who will move on to soon. But for Arsenal, they have Gabriel Jesus. Do you want the club to go for another elite level number 9, another elite level striker? That's a question to you, not a statement, so nobody get triggered. In my opinion, I think Arsenal need to. I think, in my opinion, there is a way for a tactician as good as Mikel Arteta. There is a way in which that he can get quality out of both players, use both Jesus and Victor Osimhen on the football pitch. But equally, if Arsenal improve with Osimhen coming in, even if that means that Gabriel Jesus takes a sidestep, so what? So what if that makes Arsenal better? And I think that these are the types of players that Arsenal need to go after. I kind of feel that if you look at the invincible year in the Champions League final a couple of years later, if you look beyond that point, Arsenal didn't follow suit when Chelsea started spending and City started spending in the same way Man United did in the latter Fergie years of going, right, we're going to have to fight fire with fire and buy some stars. And I think Arsenal have got to add that into their mix. We know they're looking at doing it already with the links to the likes of Declan Rice, but I think this would be a phenomenal move for Arsenal. Of course, as a Man United fan, I don't want them to pull this off. I'd rather Man United do it. But I do want your thoughts and I want your feelings on this. Staying with Arsenal, though, this here is a report that came via Give Me Sport on Declan Rice that says, from what I hear, he is quite happy with that interest. He is quite excited at the prospect of moving to Arsenal and the prospect of playing in the Champions League, which is something he's always said. Now, I think this is a key update, a very, very, very key update to Arsenal fans everywhere. And the reason that I say this is because there are other links from other outlets that have stated he's already agreed on personal terms. There are other outlets that say that no conversations like that have taken place. I reject that information. And the reason I reject it is because Arsenal would not still be pursuing it if they didn't know there was a possibility of signing him. In some of the early conversations via intermediaries, squad status, squad numbers, salaries, bonuses, etc., are often discussed. And Arsenal would have an idea already of what he would want in terms of personally joining. Arsenal would make it clear very early on whether they would be willing to meet that. Therefore, conversations will continue and more intricate situations are covered. So the personal terms element, at least the basics of them, I think are already done. That doesn't mean Arsenal will sign him. But the fact that you keep getting reports about how intrigued and happy and excited he is at the prospect of going to Arsenal should leave Gooners feeling very, very positive indeed. Now, Arsenal fans, I want your views and I want your opinions. The likes of Osimhen, the likes of Declan Rice are being linked to. Is this the profile, the status of player that you really want? I know that some Gooners in the past have suggested that signing stars isn't quite where you want to be. So I want to get your views and opinions on that. Up next, let's take a look at what Jamie Carragher has said in response to the BS that's been coming out of Gary Neville's mouth.
There's a positive. If Man City score in the last minute, win a game, we say, oh, great mentality.
So true. It's so true how Arsenal have suddenly become the only team I've kind of witnessed in my lifetime of watching, in my entire lifetime of watching football, where suddenly scoring last minute goals is a bad thing.
Because it's Arsenal, we're saying, oh, they're choking, that they've got to score in the last minute because they're not playing well enough. But that narrative will change as soon as they win. If they win the title, we'll be saying something different next season. But a big thing that you should give Arsenal credit for is, I think when Jesus got injured, they were 5 points clear of Manchester City. How long's he been injured now? What are we talking, 2 months, 3 months?
Yeah.
They're still 5 points clear. So you've got to give them massive credit for that.
And this is why, as much as there are great arguments as to why Man City can win the league, the lack of respect given to that is amazing. Because Jesus being injured was the big test. Of all the big tests they've faced, it was the big one of, when they lose a big player, they'll fall apart. They haven't. They've had a wobble in that and still maintain that 5 point lead. And I think hearing Jamie Carragher do that kind of clap back at the sort of the disingenuous bullshit sandwich praise that the likes of Gary Neville, many other pundits, of course, rival fans are going to play Arsenal down. They're meant to. That's their job. But from these professional pundits, it's very interesting to see indeed. Up next, I want to talk to you about Harry Kane to Man United and the United takeover. Let's go. Now, Manchester United have been long linked with the number 9. We know Victor Osimhen is a player that they want. They know, Victor Osimhen is a player that could come to Man United. But according to this article here from Neil Custis at The Sun, he says that Man United are confident on signing Harry Kane this summer with contact already made. United made contact with Kane's camp through a third party. Well, that's normal. That's how this typically goes. It's never direct. Otherwise, you'd be breaking Premier League rules. At the same time, Alex Crook from Talk Sport has stated that Man United are very keen to sign him, but they know persuading Daniel Levy, even if Spurs don't have Champions League football, is going to be difficult. I think, listen, United got a pummeling. In the 7-0 defeat at the weekend, there was a pummeling, there was a humbling, there was an embarrassing, a hugely embarrassing day for the club. Absolutely. Of course, rivals are going to gloat that, oh, you said you were back. You said you had the best this and the best that, and you're moving in the right direction. Look what happened. But Man United fans know in their heart of hearts that yesterday wasn't an indication of what's to come. It was a bad day in the office. And I believe those bad days in the office in terms of humiliating defeats, which we've seen many in the last decade since United have crumbled, I believe will become less and less and less to very, very infrequently happening, seldom happening in years to come. Signing someone like Harry Kane is so required at Manchester United. Weghorst has been a very good plug-in player for the situation that we were in. Now, you'll see on the reports on TalkSport that FFP could be a problem here for Man United, and we'll look at that in a moment. But the new owners are on their way to coming in. Face-to-face meetings will take place in the next 10 to 14 days with Sir Jim Ratcliffe, but more excitingly for Man United fans, the Qatari bid. Rain Group have once again iterated that they fully believe that the Glazers, through their conversations with the Glazers, that they are looking to sell as opposed to look for minority investment in the football club. So Man United fans, I would say right now as it stands, unless the news changes, park all the FFP stuff, park all the money situation. United are going to go for a big, big striker in the summer. And I love Victor Osimhen. He's got age on his side. There is Benjamin Šeško that a lot of people rave about. But Harry Kane, in my opinion, should be the player that United bring in. If you look at what Weghorst is trying to do, but swap that player over with Harry Kane, you are talking about an individual that will move the needle exponentially. Just as we've just spoken about with the likes of Declan Rice and Osimhen coming into Arsenal and raising their game and their standards, that is exactly what Harry Kane would do for United. I want to take a quick look here at what Alex Crook had to say about this on TalkSport.
Because Harry Kane is coming to the end of his contract. He'll have a year left this summer. Obviously, he wants to be challenging for trophies. He at least wants to be in the Champions League next season. You've got to say, by the league route, that probably looks a little bit unlikely for Spurs because Liverpool now will have momentum from that 7-0 win. I think they'll go on and nick fourth place. So then it's all about the Champions League. They've got a deficit to overturn against AC Milan. They might get through that tie, but with the greatest will in the world, I don't see Tottenham as European champions. So Harry Kane does have a good decision to make. Having said all that, I was told at the turn of the year when these links with Harry Kane first started to emerge that Daniel Levy, notoriously difficult negotiator, would be reluctant to sell Harry Kane.
Look, and I think Alex Crook is right. He will be reluctant to make that sale to allow that to happen. But this is where United have got to convince Kane. If you convince Kane, what you're then able to do is get the player to force that move. It was almost done 2 years ago. It will be 2 years this summer to Man City. But with the contract running down, as long as Harry Kane doesn't sign a new deal, this is very, very plausible for Man United indeed. And especially if the new money comes in from Qatar. I think that changes everything. United can already sign star players, and we will have Champions League football, in my opinion. I don't think this result against Liverpool is going to overly damage United's season. It's embarrassing. You've got to take your medicine and take your banter. But there is nonsense already being discussed. You know, that this result is an indication of where we really are, as opposed to the direction that we are going in. Not falling for it. Don't believe it. Trust this manager, and the new ownership is on its way in. But listen, everybody, I want your thoughts and I want your feelings on what Carragher had to say about Arsenal's form and the lack of credit, the sort of clap back against the likes of Gary Neville. Declan Rice excited about the idea of joining Arsenal. Arsenal leading the race for Osimhen, and United's heavy links again to Harry Kane. I want your thoughts. I want your feelings. Make sure you're subscribing. Go and scan that QR code or click on the link in the description and follow us on Spotify now. We'll see you all again soon. Thank you.